Well, that was incredibly difficult. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just went wonky. Just wait a minute for some folks to get in. All I've been doing is cleaning. You saw my last video. You kind of know what's been going on. I had some sick fish. Unfortunately, it's led to quite a few deaths, and it's really made me rethink how I wanted to do my fish room. So we're gonna do some big changes. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Austin. This is a super random live. The last one was just technical difficulties. It didn't work out. Hey, Fish Preacher. How's it going? No complaints. Just been cleaning up the fish room. It was kind of a disaster, and I don't know if you guys saw my last video or not, but I had kind of a catastrophe in the fish room, so it made me kind of really think about what I wanted to do going forward. And part of that is cleaning up the fish room and getting it prepared for the new layout that's coming, the new tanks that I'm looking to get into, and I've been selling off some fish, kind of getting rid of, because I've been taking in pretty much everything that I could get my hands on, trying to like expand, and in doing so, I brought some sick fish in and kind of devastated one of my favorite tanks, so it made me, yeah, heat and salt, some ick-X. I kicked the ick pretty fast, but the secondary infections really took a toll on the severum. So severum are kind of sensitive, so they were the ones that like really bit the dust. And it really stinks because I had a bunch of nice green severum that one of my buddies had bought me, and then I'd just gone out and gotten some like really big full-grown severum, and the tank was looking good. I was really looking to do like just the severum only tank. I was going to pull everything out besides the severum, and I have one severum left in the tank now. So yeah, but I think what I have left will be all right. I lost a lot of a really nice severum. Yeah, internal was tough. Medicated food might help. You can get some food with like levamisole and stuff in it, and that might kick it. Just make sure you keep the water really clean. Like I've been doing water changes pretty much every day. It's just hard because it's cold right now, so all the water coming in comes in straight from the well, so it is ice cold. I finally got my couch back so I can sit instead of sitting on a bucket. Like I said, just cleaning. Fish room was kind of a disaster. I haven't been paying as much attention to it as I should have been. I was more focused on getting fish than really making it a nice fish room. Let me know how it works for you, Preacher. And I had a lot of care species, and I ended up selling them all off to somebody that's getting into it. I'm not going to do care species, at least not the ones I had. While I think it's really important, it just, I don't know, it's not my thing. It's the kind of fish I want to keep. It's not necessarily like the care stuff. I did get some new epistos though. I finally found more epistos. That was, I was actually out getting medicine for the other tank, and I decided to stop by one of the local fish stores, and they had gotten in some agazizii. So this tank right here, there's a trio of Epistogramma agazzizii. I'm really excited for them. Pistols have been super, super hard to find lately. Because I have 4 pairs of triple red cockatoides, but I haven't seen any more since that one shipment of cockatoides. So I was excited to get those. So I'm going to be going to more like good-looking show tanks because it's been just kind of bulk fish keeping. Like I've been. Oh, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. Anthony, do you know that you are actually my first super chat? One, I rarely go live, but thank you so much. That's really awesome. And yeah, Atkins, I don't go live too much. I don't know. It's been kind of tough in the fish room the way it's been looking. I haven't really wanted to go live. I more so like to control what everyone sees, but the way I clean the crap out of it, like it's really clean in here now, and it makes me feel a lot better. Like I don't want to say anxiety, but you come in and you're like not happy because the fish room's a disaster, but it's clean now. Oh man, again? So you're the first and the second one? Bro, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Anything that I get from the channel, by the way, guys, any of the YouTube revenue, it's all going into new tanks, new scapes, plants, everything. I appreciate it, Anthony. I really do. Thank you so much. But there's a couple of kinds of fish that I want to get. I want to get into some big Americans, like some Trimax, stuff like that. Yeah, man, and I appreciate it. Any little bit helps. You know, I'm just a poor fish tuber. I'm still actually waiting to get my favorite cichlid right now. Jags, my Jaguar cichlids, 100%. They were actually the first cichlid I ever kept for Jags. So, the story about that, I got 3 of them right when I got back into the hobby. I kept them for a while. They grown 2 or 3 inches. I had a trio of them, and when I had to move from where I was before to this new house, I had put them in a bucket with my red Texas cichlid, who up to that point had been very mild and timid. But he ended up massacring all 3 of my Jags, so I lost them. And fortunately, one of my good friends up here, Ted, had, you know, a pair of Jags that he didn't have room for at the time. So I traded him some fish, and I got a beautiful pair of Jags. They're probably 12 inches apiece. They've spawned for me multiple times. I have some fry grow outs in a tank up there. But definitely my Jags. I love my American cichlids. That said, I have some really beautiful African cichlids. For a while, I didn't want to keep Africans, but it just ended up, I got them at a good price, and I kept getting more, and I've actually really fallen in love with them. So I want to do a really big African peacock cichlid tank. I have a 220, but I also have some black belt cichlids that are growing out, so they're going to need the room. But I think I might do like a 125 or a 75, just of really nice big peacock cichlids. And then I have a bunch of angels, so they're going to be getting divided up into other tanks. I want to start breeding them, but I'll do like species or strain only, 55 gallons with all of them in there, and we'll just rock out all the angel breeding. And I don't know how long I'm going to stay live for. I was just kind of in the fish room chilling. Figured I'd go live because I don't often get to talk to my subscribers, barring comments. So I figured I'd stop in and say hi. Hank, how's it going, bud? Salvinis, F2 Salvinis. Salvinis are pretty dope. Oscars. I have one Oscar left. That was actually what I traded the Jacks for. I had an enormous, it must have been 15 inches, like just a huge, chunky, thick Oscar. And it was him and a female that he had taken a liking to is what I traded for the Jags. But the thing I found with Africans, I've never actually had an enormous problem with aggression because their tanks have always been overstocked. Like, I'll turn it around in a minute so you can see the African tank, but there is a bunch of Africans in this tank. Here, I'll show you. Don't mind the shake. So, if you can see it, that is full of African peacocks. Mostly OBs, but there's a couple of different ones, and some really, really nice ones. I really like that tank. It's one of my favorite tanks to look at. But 100% overstocking is the key for Africans. Because it helps mitigate their aggression. It gives them something else to focus on besides one another. Having so many in there, they can't single out one fish and pick out on that one fish. So if you're going to keep Africans, keep a bunch of them. I'm not a fan of Mabuna. I do have some Mabuna, but I actually have someone coming to pick them up. It's part of me trimming down what I'm keeping because I really want to focus on the fish that I really like. And I'll still breed things and I'll still sell things, like to the local clubs and stuff like that. But I really want to get back to what made me love the hobby. Community type fish. Key puffers are cool. Man, I think if I can... There's two fish that I really want that I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep on. I want to get a Mabu puffer and I want to get a silver arowana. Hey Griffin, it's just the tank space required. It's so much. I'd really like to do some stingrays too, so that'd be a cool tank. Maybe, I mean, with the way I intend to lay the fish room out now, I'll have the room. Maybe one day I'll go to start building a big plywood tank. So to get an idea of like what I'm looking at for my fish room, like look at Scott McLaughlin from King and Queen Cichlids or the King of DIY. Like they essentially have galleries, and I know that's what Joey calls it. Scott does not, but that's what I want. I want a bunch of nice, big scape tanks, species only for the most part, where they're in a natural scape. They have everything that they need. They're not mixed. I don't think I'm going to do communities very often. I may have one community tank, but definitely going forward, I want to do more of a species focus, if you will. Man, I haven't talked to a lot of you guys in a long time. I got to start going live more. I got to find a slot. That's the thing. I got to find a slot that works for me. Asian arowana would be great, except they're illegal to have in the United States, unfortunately. There's a lot of nice ones. They stay a little smaller than a silver arowana. Probably house them in a 220 for their entire life, which that'd be awesome. But unfortunately, with the importing rules, they're illegal. Trust me, I'd much rather have an Asian arowana or like some of these snakeheads. Like if you've seen some of the ornate snakeheads that these Asian fish keepers have, they're absolutely beautiful fish. They're just illegal in the United States. It's unfortunate because a couple of things like the green snakehead, which is the one everyone's afraid of, it's the one that gets big, it's the one that's moving up north, it's the one you can actually go out and probably catch in your local river depending on where you live. Those are the ones that everyone's worried about, but there's dwarf snakeheads, there's very ornate snakeheads that are very tropical fish. They can't handle cold climates, and you wouldn't end up having an issue with them. But people like to release things into the wild that they shouldn't be releasing, and it kind of screws everything up for everybody else. Yeah, the poultries are beautiful. There's a lot of them. Yep. Crayfish in Pennsylvania, completely illegal. You cannot keep them at all. Which doesn't essentially bother me because I'm not too interested in like crayfish or anything. But they do make a good food source for some fish. So I like pike cichlids, like the Conchiculata genus. So some of them in the wild feed a lot on crayfish. And I was reading because my Venezuelan pike died as part of this ick thing that hit my tank. So I want to get a nice set of pikes, but they're really hard to spawn in captivity. I was reading like Atabo pikes, the bright red pike cichlids. Somebody did spawn them, but it was in a 700-gallon aquarium. I'm probably not going to get a 700-gallon tank unless I build it. And like I said, I may look to build one in the future because the way I'm going to lay out the fish room now, I'm going to have the room in the middle, and it'd be really cool to have a big plywood tank in the center. I think it would be an awesome centerpiece. Just getting like the glass or the acrylic and building it, and it's actually the pond liner and the glass that's the most expensive part. You need high quality lumber, but that's not the expensive part. I'm probably looking at around $2,000 to build a big plywood tank and to build it right. But if I ever want to keep stingrays, it's probably the way I'm going to have to go. Same thing for an arowana. Finding even an acrylic tank that size, usually looking at custom made and many thousands of dollars. If anybody was thinking about building a plywood tank, it's not worth it unless you're looking at a huge tank. Because like I said, you're looking at $2,000 to build I'd say like an 800 gallon plywood tank. You're probably looking at $2,000. Because I've done the research, I've been curious about it, because there are some really big fish that I'd love to keep that you don't find tank sizes that can hold them. And a lot of people like to get these little monster fish, grow them out a little bit, and then offload them to somebody else that can actually house them, and I'm not that way. So if I get something, my intention is to keep it, right? Like, Fluffy is a lot of, and that's what I want to slim down to, is the fish that I'm going to always keep. I was buying in bulk, I was taking in rehomes in bulk, and I was flipping them and I was selling them. But that's what led to the ick outbreak in my 125 that's killed off all of my Severum, killed off a couple of Jack Dempsey's. Fortunately, my Red Texas, who's in there, is doing okay. I'm actually going to pull him out and put him in one of these 20 gallons to make sure I get him the medication he needs and to make sure he gets healed up. He was an Indonesian import, and he was given to me by one of my best friends, Chris Matsko. So he's a really important fish to me, and one I definitely do not want to lose. Maybe I should have announced that I was going live. It might have helped instead of just a random live time. But like I said, I don't have a slot, and my schedule's a little wonky. It's pretty open right now because I'm off until the 4th, so I don't have to go back to work until the 4th. But I think I'm going to find a live slot, and I think I'm going to start streaming more. Give me a chance to actually interact with you guys more often, and really, it's fun to talk live because I can actually talk to you as opposed to talking at you or just posting whatever video it is that I'm posting. Let's talk about Christmas. Did anybody get any cool fish-related stuff for Christmas? Any new tanks, new fish? Nothing? Nobody got anything cool for Christmas? So this 20-gallon rack that's behind me is actually going to come down. Ooh, rice fish. You don't see rice fish too often. 10-gallon. I went and bought myself those Agassiz. That was my Fishmas present. Because otherwise I got other things, clothes, jackets, stuff like that. Stuff I needed. This thing about being an adult, you generally get stuff you need instead of stuff you want. So what kind of fish does everybody keep? Because while I know some of you, and I know some of you are YouTubers, and I've seen some of your fish, I don't know everybody's stuff. Anybody in here have plants? You guys like planted tanks? You've seen me mention his name a couple of times in a couple of videos, and he even sent me a care package once. But if you're looking for plants, and I'm talking like almost wholesale prices, KJE Aquatics on Facebook is definitely the way to go. And he sells like high quality foods, he sells medication, everything. But Keith is an awesome guy. And if you tell him I sent you, he might even hook you up a little bit more. I do some business with Keith, and I'm going to be doing a lot more here in the future. Because for the smaller fish and for the tanks I can get away with it, I'm going to be doing a lot more planted stuff. Like I said, natural scapes, rocks, driftwood, I have very few to start with, but any artificial decor that I have is going to go. I want to get nicer lights. Probably going to be looking to relight the entire fish room, relight all the tanks. Pretty much we're doing a complete fish room rebuild. And I'm going to rebuild it until I'm happy with it. And I won't be happy with it until it's really nice, it's clean looking, really slick. Oh, you keep a bunch of small stuff. Cichlid's jewels are nasty. Tiger barbs, guppies, plecos, swordtails. I have some guppies. I like endlers, I think, better than fancy guppies. I have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strings of endlers right now. I have Blue Star, Snakeskin Orchid, Rainbow Tiger, Staik endlers, Chili endlers, and black bars. Probably going to get rid of the chilies and the black bars. They're not my favorite, but I'll keep the other 4. Hey, Danny Ken, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by, man. Nice, Austin. My wife wants to do a nano tank. I have a flower horn downstairs and a 40-gallon bow front. It's actually her tank. I just she never gets to set it up, and I keep using it to hold fish. So once I can get the flower horn a new home, it's her tank, and she's gonna plant it up. And she wants to do a bunch of nano fish. She's got a nice little list she's already set up of fish she wants to put in it. But she just wants a nice little display tank, super heavily planted, almost like a Wallstead tank. If you've seen a Wallstead tank, where there's very few water changes, you're pretty much topping off and letting the tank become a natural ecosystem that just kind of runs itself. But I have someone coming to take more fish later, so that'll free up another tank that I can take down. And I really want to start building. The problem is lumber is expensive right now. With the shipping issues and all the hurricanes and stuff, lumber is really expensive, so it's hard to build stands. I have enough to build like a stand, but I'm the type, like, I'll spend a whole day just building stands so I can build them in bulk, paint them in bulk, and get them all in on the same day. I'm going to be taking down a bunch of tanks and moving stuff around. And we'll get it built. It'll look good. I'm excited. I'm excited to redo the fish room. I'm excited to keep things that I enjoy versus keeping anything that I can. It's one of those things, like, I want to come in here and just be able to sit down and relax and just enjoy my tanks. Because it was so chaotic in here with 50 different kinds of fish that it's just too much. And this is a big space too, so I think filling it with bigger tanks, more big fish, will look nice. Instead of 20 gallons like I have behind me, I'm probably going to do something like 9. I'll build a rack similar to this, where it's just 9 tanks. And I'll use them for fry, I'll use them for grow outs, and I'll use them for endlers and stuff like that. I have a couple of kinds of guppies too. I mean, I have red dragons, I have red grass guppies that I really like, so they'll be staying too. I have a bunch of plecos too that nobody ever gets to see. I have a zebra pleco, a bunch of clown plecos, long fin albino bristlenose, short fin, calico. So I actually have 4 20 longs sitting over there in the corner. I'm going to set those up, and they're going to be plecos and epistos, not together because epistos like to dwell on the bottom of the tank, so do plecos. It does get expensive, but there are many ways to make it not as expensive. So if you scroll through my videos, there's one where I talk about picking your own driftwood and rocks. That really drops the price because driftwood is expensive. And plants, KJ Aquatics all day. Absolute solid, hands down, best prices on plants I have ever found anywhere. I think at the Lehigh Valley Swap, I was picking up swords for like $3, stuff like that. Like, he sells his plants for a really, really nice price. And super nice guy too. He's a veteran just like I am. I think he was Air Force though. If you don't know, I was a Marine Corps veteran. That's where Veteran Aquatic came from. That said, I've also been keeping fish on and off for like the last 17 years. I started when I was young. I used to breed guppies and sell them to the pet store. Bred sailfin mollies, sold them to the pet store. And when I got older, I got out of fish and into reptiles, and then I joined the military, so I got out of everything. Then I got out, moved back home, didn't keep fish for a couple years, met my wife as I was getting back into the hobby, and she's been super supportive. She gave me, her office in the last house, and when we bought this house, she gave me the garage. She told me I could do whatever I wanted with it. So that's my rule. I can pretty much do whatever I want with fish as long as I keep it contained in the fish room. She doesn't want tanks spilling out all over the house again. Yeah, I think the new direction is going to be a very positive one. It's going to be a good one for my fish. It's going to be a good one for the channel. It was cool, wheeling and dealing fish all the time, but it gets to be a lot, and it gets to be too much. Yeah, I was married for a while, but I didn't keep fish. I actually kept the snake at that point. But then, I did the cool Lance Corporal gets divorced thing, and moved back into the barracks. Actually, at the store that I found the epistles at, I was talking to a guy he was Army, but he kept fish and snakes and stuff while he was in. He just hid them in his wall locker, which is all great until they do like a health and comfort, and then they check your wall locker for stuff and find out you have fish. It's bad enough having a crock pot. Hey, Texas. Danny, I didn't know you were in the Marines. Well, Semper Fi, brother. My wife's a hua. She's a staff sergeant in the National Guard. She's active duty National Guard though, so she's full time. It's actually why we moved out here. That's why we bought this house. Which worked out. I mean, I loved our old house, but this one's a lot nicer. Yeah, she's only been in, 7 years? I think she's going on 7 years. And she's picked up staff in 7, which is pretty good. She's looking to retire, so she wants to do her full 20. That'll be nice because she'll be retired by the time she's like 40. I did my 4 and got out. I had a lot of stuff going on at home. So that's one thing. I will not run CO2. I won't do it. I will not. If it takes CO2 for me to run it, I'm not going to do it. Like super simple stuff like Java moss, Java fern, crypts, like real easy hornwort, moneywort, like super easy to grow stuff. Maybe some jungle val in the bigger tanks. But yeah, super easy to grow, no CO2. Like I'm talking low budget, like night crew lights. I'm not gonna go out and buy a bunch of like Phoenix lights and CO2 regulators and CO2 tanks and go absolutely crazy with it. You can do a lot with a little bit as long as you plan it out right. Ghost shrimp in your locker, nice. VA pension now, nice. I mean, not nice that you got hurt, but nice that they gave you the pension. I work in the transportation industry. I work from home, which is nice, so I essentially facilitate the shipment and storage of huge, heavy equipment like excavators, cranes, bulldozers, log loaders, all that stuff. And it's nice because I get to do it from home, which gives me a lot more time in the fish room. It gives me a lot more time with my family. It gives me a lot more time to, do stuff around the house, which is nice because my wife is 8 months pregnant now, so she's kind of not able to do a whole lot. But with me working from home, it gives me the chance to do a lot more. Kind of keep the house running by myself. I have the time. Yeah, they like to lose stuff, Texas. Never got really hurt. I rolled an ankle pretty bad once, was on crutches for a couple weeks. That was it. I was lucky. Pretty tough though. Never broken a bone. Never had stitches. My little brother broke his arm in the same arm, about an inch apart from the first break twice. He broke the same arm. And fractured his hip. So both of my brothers were Army for a little while. My littlest brother joined and then had a tough time with it. And then my older brother's my older little brother is still National Guard. He's a part-timer. Rare plants. Fair enough. And I'm sure they look great. I mean, I've seen immaculate planted tanks with CO2 running, like absolutely stunning tanks. And while I appreciate them, I don't want that high maintenance. Like, because if you have too much CO2, if your CO2 regulator goes out, like you're just gonna kill the whole tank. Mine, for me, is more about the fish than the scape, but I do want to do nice scapes, nice hard scapes, in as many tanks as I can. I'll probably get some pothos going. So the way I'm going to build the stands, they should all pretty much line up, so I should be able to run pothos across the top of most of them, and that'll help suck out a lot of the nitrates, as well as add a lot of green to the fish room, which will be a nice contrast to the black of all the stands and the black of all the backgrounds of the tanks. I never actually deployed. I was calm, so I was a computer guy. Got stationed in Cherry Point, North Carolina. I supported the air wing, and our unit specifically deployed everybody that deployed off the East Coast because they all went out of Cherry Point. So everyone that deployed from like Camp Lejeune and stuff like that, they all came through Cherry Point, and that was kind of our job. I tried. I almost got on a MEU, but I was too close to getting out, and they wouldn't let me extend. But yeah, going forward, guys, I'm really excited about the new fish room, the way it's going to go, the way it's going to look. And I'll bring you all along for the journey. I'll make sure to record it when I'm doing things, when I'm building stands or escaping tanks, stuff like that. I think those would be some fun videos to do. I gotta say, though, everybody seems to like the bad stuff, controversial stuff. Everybody likes it when something bad happens. Everyone's all of a sudden curious and interested. I think I want to get into showing fish. Like Scott McLaughlin, King and Queen Cichlids, he shows a lot of fish, and I think I want to get into that too. Yeah, maybe one high-tech tank wouldn't be too bad. It's a lot easier to keep an eye on one tank than it is, you know. I think I counted it out. When I'm done, I'll still have like 30 tanks running. But there'll be a nice 30 tanks, and there'll be species tanks. So I won't have issues with like aggression or husbandry or anything like that. Lots of plants, lots of hardscape, lots of places for things to hide, get away, and establish territories, and bigger tanks. So it'll look good. I'm really excited. I kind of want to paint the walls in here because I don't like the white. But man, oh, I have like 36 running right now, I think. But I'm cutting it down. I'll get rid of a lot of these smaller tanks in favor of some larger tanks that keep some of the larger fish I like. If I'd kept going the way I was going to have like 50 or something like that. Dannykin's a good channel, Rocco. Definitely a recommended channel. They do a lot of live streams, they do some giveaways. Good stuff. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's fair. Fortunately, I live very close to York, so like when they do the Keystone Clash, I'm less than an hour. Some battery-operated air pumps and a couple of totes, and we'll be straight. And I keep big American cichlids. I'm not super worried about them croaking. They're pretty tough. Like he was a show quality green Texas Fluffy. He was an awesome guy. He's 10 years old, but he's like getting on there in years to where he's kind of not super showy anymore. But he's super pretty fish. Love him. Absolutely one of my favorite fish in fish room. But I want to get into more like real big, nice fish. That's unfortunate. Why don't you start one, Austin? If you go on Facebook, find a local community of fish keepers and get together once a month. Ooh, bleaker eye. You don't see those. You usually see the pollen eye. I don't think I can even find a bleaker eye. It doesn't matter how much I scour for them. Yeah, the OCA show was really cool. Yeah, Danny, I was thinking about looking into getting a bleaker eye or pollen eye, but you can't find bleaker eye around here. They're all pollen eye. But they're absolutely gorgeous fish, like hands down. And that's the problem that I have is there are so many huge or nice and beautiful, colorful fish, and I want to keep all of them, and I just like realistically I can't. So I'm starting to understand more why people sometimes cycle fish through their fish room. Like they'll keep them for a while, get bored, and get rid of them. But a lot of my fish are wet pets, so I keep them, you know, through their entire life. Yeah, Atkins, I'm sure with the way things are, there's going to be a lot more online shows because a lot of these clubs and a lot of these groups that throw these things aren't able to raise revenue via the actual live in-person shows. So they're going to be leaning more towards, there's going to be a lot more online stuff, I think, going forward. So definitely look for that. Yeah, pull the eggs. Keep an egg tumbler on hand with some methylene blue. For anybody that doesn't know, methylene blue helps kill fungus on things like angelfish eggs or African cichlid eggs. You can also use alder cones if you're looking for a more natural way to kind of keep fungus away. Alder cones can work. Yeah, Rocco, it was the Ohio Cichlid Association did a huge online show. Another channel for you to go subscribe to is King and Queen Cichlids. Scott McLaughlin does a lot of shows, so he'll usually announce when something like that is happening, and he had entered into the OCA show and stuff like that. Oh, Danny, I appreciate that. That would be awesome. That would be really cool to have some bleaker eye in here. Those would definitely be some prized fish. Yeah, some big pretty cichlids and the dwarf cichlids. Like I love apistos. The only problem is a lot of them with the limited flights. There's a lot less livestock available for fish, so you're not seeing a lot of things imported anymore because it's just hard to find flights. So like apistos, a lot of them are imported from Europe and South America, and we're just not seeing a ton of them come up. That's why I was really surprised when I found the Agassiz out in the fish store and I went to look for medicine. But I think I'm going to call it for today, guys. We've been on for about 40 minutes. I just wanted to, do a quick live. I will find a time slot, and I will start live streaming because I actually do enjoy this, and I know you guys would probably like to interact with me a little bit more than we get to. And since I have the time, and since the fish room is nice and clean now, I'll find a time slot. We'll start doing some live streams, and we'll get to talk more. Appreciate it, Danny. Semper Fi, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, have fun in the new year. I know I'm having a little gathering. Gonna have a couple of folks over. We're gonna have some fun, play some pool. So enjoy, guys. That's it for today. I'm out. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you joining me, and I'm gonna get back to work. Happy birthday, Rocco. Happy birthday.